It's kind of wild and frustrating when you think about it. We've lived on this planet for thousands or maybe millions of years, yet most of the ocean is still a total mystery. There are whole regions of the sea that remain untouched, unexplored, and who knows what's hiding down there. There must be tons of species waiting to be found. There are rivers down there. But credit to the few who've dared to go deep, because what they've brought back is nothing short of unbelievable. And today we're going to explore the 15 most amazing and unexpected underwater finds. Number 15. Osborne Reef. Osborne Reef started with good intentions but ended in disaster. In 1974, concrete structures were placed off the coast of Fort Lauderdale to encourage coral growth and marine life. Things were steady at first until someone decided to add over 2 million used tires to the mix, thinking it would expand the artificial reef system. The tires were held together with metal clips that corroded over time. Once those clips gave out, the tires broke loose. They didn't help the reef. They wrecked it. Loose tires drifted across the seafloor, crashing into nearby natural reefs and tearing up fragile ecosystems. Instead of supporting marine life, the area became a cautionary tale, an environmental mess. Efforts have been made to remove the tires, but with millions still on the seabed, cleanup is slow and expensive. To date, only around 70,000 tires have been recovered. What started as an attempt to help the ocean turned into one of the worst examples of how not to build an artificial reef. Sometimes it's best to keep things as they are. Number 14. The Swedish Atlantis. In early 2014, divers in Hanö Bay, Sweden, uncovered a collection of Stone Age artifacts that caught not just national but international attention. The press quickly dubbed it the Swedish Atlantis, though that name didn't quite hold up. What they found wasn't a lost city or sunken advanced alien civilization, but it was significant. Scattered across the seabed were tools, ropes, animal horns, and even a harpoon made from aurochs bone. These artifacts were around 11,000 years old. The aurochs, a wild ancestor of modern cattle, have been extinct since the 1600s. Most Stone Age communities were nomadic, so finding this many objects in one place suggests people may have stayed in the area longer than expected. The items likely ended up underwater as sea levels rose or were tossed into the water once they were no longer useful. Still, the discovery paints a rare picture of early human life in the region, simple tools, survival methods, and clues from a time when the Baltic Sea hadn't yet swallowed their land. Number 13. The giant coral reef. In October 2020, a massive coral reef was found just off the coast of Cape York in Queensland, Australia. It's not part of the Great Barrier Reef, but it sits nearby and you won't believe it. It's taller than the Empire State Building. From base to tip, the reef stretches over 1,600 feet high, with a base wider than a mile. If it stood on land, people would call it a mountain. What makes this even more surprising is that it hadn't been spotted before. It sits in a region already studied, yet somehow this formation had slipped under the radar. The peak lies just 130 feet below the surface, close enough for divers to reach, but not without caution. Video footage shows sharks circling the reef, using the structure as part of their hunting grounds. The shape is steep, narrow, and wild-looking. It's one of the tallest known reef formations on the planet, and a reminder that even in mapped areas, the ocean still hides giants we've barely begun to understand. Number 12. Precontinent I. In the early 1960s, Jacques Cousteau set out to prove that humans could live and work under the sea. Precontinent I egg, built off the coast of Sudan in 1963, was his answer. It wasn't a simple capsule or dive station. It was a small underwater village. It had phones, a television, a working library, and even a parrot, whose job was to alert the crew if oxygen levels dropped too low. 6 aquanauts lived there for 30 days, diving daily and studying marine life while living beneath the waves. It worked. The structure was stable, breathable, and surprisingly functional. But Cousteau pulled the plug. His sponsors were from the oil industry, and he grew uncomfortable with the direction things were heading. Rather than fuel offshore drilling, he shifted toward conservation. Today, the habitat still sits beneath the sea. It's intact, airtight, and technically still habitable, though no one's been inside in decades. It's one of those rare projects that proved its point and then quietly stepped back. Number 11. Big Fin Squid. Big Fin Squid doesn't show up often. For years, scientists had only 12 confirmed sightings. That changed in November 2020, when 5 of them appeared near Australia. Not on the surface, thousands of feet down, deep in the parts of the ocean humans can't survive. These squid aren't just sea creatures. Their limbs stretch up to 26 feet, and they hang in the water with their arms bent straight down, moving with a strange, eerie grace. Divers can't reach those depths, so the footage came from remotely operated underwater vehicles. The squid was spotted at around 3,000 feet, where light doesn't reach and pressure is crushing. Scientists don't know much about how they live or how many there are, but even these brief glimpses are rare. It's unlikely one would ever survive at the surface, and humans aren't built to visit their world. For now, all we have are flickering images from the deep, just enough to remind us how much we haven't seen. Number 10. A medieval soldier. In November 2020, archaeologists working at Lake Esveja in Lithuania found something unusual: a fully equipped medieval soldier resting at the bottom of the lake. His remains were preserved under 30 feet of mud and sand, along with his sword, knives, leather boots, and uniform. It wasn't a burial site. There was no ceremony, no sign of intention, just a body left behind. The sword helped date the discovery to the 16th century, a time when Lithuania, in union with Poland, was one of the most powerful states in Europe. The soldier may have served at Dubingiai Castle, which now stands in ruins on the lakeside. How he ended up in the lake is still unknown. He might have drowned, been attacked, or simply disappeared during patrol. Whatever happened, he stayed there, untouched for hundreds of years. The cold and the mud did their job. Everything he carried, everything he wore, stayed where it was, waiting to be found. Number 9. Fuji Kamaru wreck. This wasn't always a warship. Built in 1938, it began life-hauling cotton and silk across oceans. That changed in 1940 when it was taken over by the Japanese Navy and thrown into the war effort. 4 years later, during Operation Hailstone, it sank under U.S. bombs in Chuuk Lagoon. When it went down, it took fighter planes with it, 3 Zero fighters and 1 A-6M model. Now the wreck rests quietly below the surface, wrapped in coral and surrounded by fish. Over time, the site has become one of the most visited wreck diving spots on Earth. Despite the deadly destruction, many of the objects inside remain intact. The planes are still there, preserved inside the hold. If the A-6M were raised without damage, it would be the only one of its kind left in the world. But disturbing it would likely ruin the rest of the wreck, so it stays where it is, untouched, underwater, and frozen in history. Number 8. Ancient lake beneath Greenland. Greenland may be covered in ice today, but far beneath that frozen sheet, over a mile down, there's an ancient lake bed no one has seen or touched for millions of years. In 2020, scientists found it buried deep in the northwest of the island, using radar technology originally developed by NASA. The lake formed long before the ice arrived, back when the area had open land and flowing water. Since then, it's been sealed off, untouched by air or light. What's inside it remains unknown, but there's a possibility it holds old bacteria, preserved sediment, or chemical signs from an entirely different climate era. The problem is access. Drilling down that deep through solid ice isn't just difficult, it's almost impossible with current tools and budgets. For now, the lake sits where it has always been, silent, sealed, and waiting. Until someone finds a way to reach it, all scientists can do is scan from above and imagine what's been hidden under that ice for so long. Number 7. Underwater temple. Near Raka Bay in Thailand, divers swim through something you wouldn't expect to find beneath the waves: stone elephants, a temple gate, and statues standing still on the ocean floor. The underwater temple wasn't lost to time. It was built deliberately in 2006 to turn an already popular dive site into something more memorable. Sculptures were lowered carefully to the seabed, including a large guardian figure known as Yak and traditional Thai architectural elements. The idea was simple: create a spiritual experience below sea level, something unique for divers to explore. Over time, the site blended into its environment, with coral forming around the statues and fish weaving through the stonework. Elephants can swim, but they're not meant for the ocean floor, so seeing them like this feels strange, even surreal. There's nothing ancient or mythic about it, but it's still one of a kind. No other place offers quite the same combination of art, culture, and marine life suspended in a world without sound. What do you think about it? Number 6. Redbird Reef, Delaware. Redbird Reef, sitting off the coast of Delaware, is a rare success story in artificial reef building. Created in 2001 as part of a marine initiative, the project used everything from retired New York City subway cars to tugboats, tanks, and military equipment. In total, over 800 subway cars, 8 tugboats, 86 outdated tanks, and thousands of tons of materials were dropped into the Atlantic Ocean. The result was a thriving reef system that sits about 80 feet below the surface, covering just under a mile and a half. In the years that followed, marine life exploded. Black sea bass, flounder, tuna, and mackerel made the reef their home. In just 7 years, fish volume in the area increased 400 times. Redbird Reef became a fishing hotspot, a diving destination, and a model for similar projects across the U.S. Its success has sparked demand. Other states are now lining up, waiting for their chance to turn decommissioned subway cars into underwater cities for fish. Number 5. World's 6th largest underwater cave. In 2018, researchers confirmed that 2 huge flooded cave systems in Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, Dos Ojos and Sacactun, were actually connected, forming the longest known underwater cave on Earth. This system stretches over 215 miles, twisting below the surface through tunnels, chambers, and sunken voids. It's more than just a wonder. Archaeologists have found over 100 ancient artifacts inside, some of them dating back to the earliest known settlers in the Americas. The Maya, whose ruins surround the region, may have known about parts of the cave long before it was hidden underwater. Some of the passages likely remained dry during their time, used for ritual or burial purposes. Today, it's considered one of the most significant underwater archaeological sites in the world. And with other cave networks nearby, there's still a chance it might be even bigger than we think. Divers continue to map the system slowly, sometimes inch by inch, trying to understand what's been hidden beneath that landscape for thousands of years. Number 4. Treasure of Emeralds. In 2010, off the coast of Key West, a man named Jay Miskovich claimed he found something incredible: over 10,000 emeralds scattered on the ocean floor. The estimated value, around $500 million. At first, it looked like the discovery of a lifetime, but that quickly changed. The find drew media attention fast, and soon, legal trouble followed. A court granted Miskovich temporary ownership, but also barred him from selling any of the jewels. No one could even figure out where the emeralds came from in the first place. The pressure piled on. He was already deep in debt, and in 2013, he took his own life. A few months later, the truth surfaced. The emeralds were real, but not from a shipwreck. They'd been bought, possibly by Miskovich himself, and planted on the seafloor. It wasn't a treasure hunt, it was a setup, one that spun wildly out of control. Number 3. The world's 6th oldest city. In 2001, researchers exploring the Gulf of Khambat off India's western coast uncovered what looked like the remnants of a vast underwater city. The site stretched across miles and contained stone structures, carvings, human remains, and what appeared to be ancient tools and artifacts. Among the items recovered was a piece of wood buried deep in the seabed. Testing showed it was roughly 9,500 years old, placing it far before the rise of Mesopotamia and well before the earliest known urban centers. That timeline matches up closely with the end of the last ice age. If the findings hold up, this city would be more than 5,000 years older than anything found in Mesopotamia, long thought to be the cradle of civilization. Some researchers now think the people who built it could be linked to the ancestors of the Harappan culture, which emerged in northwest India and Pakistan millennia later. The site, now referred to as the Gulf of Khambhat Cultural Complex, could rewrite early human history. Number 2. Lost Civilization and the Burial Site of Matthew. At the bottom of Lake Kol, divers came across traces of an ancient civilization that had vanished beneath the water. Over 200 artifacts were found scattered between 3 and 70 feet deep, among them a bronze ritual sickle, sharpening stones, and ceramics linked to the Saka civilization which lived in the area over 2,500 years ago. But one particular discovery stood out: a broken ceramic pot stamped with inscriptions in both Armenian and Syrian scripts. The fragment was taken for analysis to help identify the exact meaning of the text and what it might confirm. For years, historians have believed that the Apostle Matthew was buried somewhere near the lake, possibly within an Armenian monastery that once stood along its shores. If the writing on the pot matches the religious records or naming patterns of that time, it could back the theory that the monastery existed, and with it the possibility that Matthew's final resting place lies beneath Kol, along with relics tied to early Christian history. Number 1. German U-boat 166. In 1942, during the heat of World War II, German U-boat 166 was sunk by the U.S. Navy in the Gulf of Mexico. It disappeared beneath the surface and wasn't seen again for almost 60 years. Then, in 2001, it was found during a routine pipeline survey, intact and somehow well preserved despite decades underwater. But that stability didn't last. In 2010, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill changed the conditions around the wreck completely. The oil introduced new bacterial life into the area, aggressive microbes that fed on the hull, speeding up the decay. What had once been protected by cold, still water was now corroding fast. Some argue the wreck should be preserved, others believe it should be left undisturbed. Either way, the damage has already set in. The vessel, which survived a torpedo hit and decades in silence, is now being slowly eaten away. Its condition is worsening, and the chances of saving what's left grow slimmer with each passing year. If you've enjoyed watching this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating content like this. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.